Welcome in, everybody. This is Charlie Castro. Today is November the 18th, 2016. This is our first YouTube channel video in about 3 months. We just got kind of busy. We moved our office back in August. We had a wild expansion in our business, and we just didn't get the time to continue to can these. Our business has really grown. We're going to share some of that with you today. Thanks for being with me. This is going to be a short 20-minute PowerPoint. If you don't know me, my name is Charlie Castro. Our agenda today is going to be some changes that we see coming. In particular on some bank foreclosed property. And we're also going to talk about our latest sources for privately owned vacant REOs. We're going to talk about that as well. If you got a pen and paper, I'd be prepared to take down some notes. This is, again, a short 20-minute video. We're going to be covering some of the changes that we see coming up on some bank-owned property. So if you are a buyer on our list that is buying bank-owned property, please pay attention to the next 20 minutes. It's going to be some very important information for you. We're also going to discuss some other types of buying options, including, as I mentioned, some privately owned REOs that we've had really a lot of success with the last 6 months. Then we're going to talk about what to expect in 2017, and that is rubbing the crystal ball this year is more difficult, or has been more difficult than any time I've been doing these. Usually this time of the year I will sit down and talk about the state of the market, where we see it going. Not that we're smart or we know something that somebody else doesn't know, but we are well connected. We talk to a lot of people, and I will very rarely let a conversation with a hedge fund manager or somebody that's one of our bank reps, for example, I'll rarely let that conversation go by without saying, what are you guys seeing in the market? What do you see for next year? What do you see for next month? What do you see the trends to be and whatnot? And so I spent a lot of time doing that. And so in reading this year, what we can expect to see in 2017 was a little tricky. We've had an election a few weeks ago, or a week ago, I should say. And so certainly there are some thoughts out there being shared by some folks that can be either good, bad, or indifferent. And so looking at all these different things, I just cherry picked 4 or 5 things that I think we're all pretty confident that we're going to see. And then I'm going to offer you my own personal analysis of what it all means at the end of the day. Now, there's probably 15 of these type of things that you see going around the internet. How's the real estate market going to be affected by the election? How's it going to be affected by market trends and whatnot? There's lots of different I could have put 20 different bullet points up here, but I'm going to focus on just these. I think these are most relevant to the investor community. So first of all, I think we are going to see a short-term stimulus to the economy. We're going to see some tax cuts. There's no question about that. But we're also going to see some government spending that's going to go along with that. And I think that is going to be good for the economy in the short term for sure. What short term is defined as, obviously we don't know yet, but I think that's two things we're clearly going to see is some investment in the infrastructure in our country, which is much needed. And also we're going to see some tax cuts, which is going to be beneficial for a lot of people. It's going to free up a lot of capital, and you're going to see more capital flow into the investment real estate space. The stock market is going to most likely be volatile. I've read a lot about this, and there's lots of ways to look at this. I mean, when Trump was elected president, everybody thought the market was going to crash. It didn't crash. It kept going. Matter of fact, it went up. I think it hit an all-time high right after he was elected. So, but the general train of thought is that we're going to see less government regulation, but we're also going to see restrictive international trade policies. Janet Yellen, who's the federal chair, she could be out as soon as 2018 if she's not fired before that. What does that mean for the markets? Well, markets like things like consistency and reliability, dependability. They like those. When there's uncertainty in the marketplace, there's going to be some jumps up and down in the stock markets. I think you can expect to see that. We're going to see some changes to Dodd-Frank if it's not done away with altogether. And when I read this piece about Dodd-Frank, it was literally 2 paragraphs long, and I could have gone on much longer about just the changes that could be made to Dodd-Frank and what it can mean. But it can mean some good things for the economy too, because construction loans are certainly going to open up, and some other things will open up as well. So I think there's some good things that could be happening there. Lending practices could become less stringent, and that'd be a great thing, I think, for a lot of people to see, and return to a more traditional type of lending protocols. That's something that I think most people are expecting to see in the years ahead. And then tax reform. Now, simplifying the tax code is a great idea, and I think most Americans are all for that. But it can result in things going away, like your 1031 exchanges being on the chopping block. So there's lots of pros and cons. Now, when I read all this stuff, as I said, last year I could have sat here and said, we're going to continue to see growth. The market's going to continue to improve. You're going to see lots of turnkey inventory out there because nobody's buying that right now. I mean, it was very predictable. This year, after I spent the last couple days reading as much as I could find about all the things we can expect to see in 2017, this is my prediction. My prediction is we just don't know. There's just too much uncertainty in too many different areas where we really don't know how this is going to affect us. Now, we have seen some things early this month that are leading us to believe some very good things could be in store. And that's why we're having this YouTube video today. We're going to share some of that with you. Our change is going to be coming on bank-owned properties. Now, again, if you are on our buyers list, this is all going to be very familiar to you. If you're not on our buyers list, it may not be. So hang with me. I'm going to do my best to describe this. But just step 1, 2, 3, 4 here. First of all, is Freddie and Fannie going to survive? It's a big question. We were told a few days ago by one of our bank reps that we're going to be seeing a big Freddie Fannie tape hit the market. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit here. We know the banks are currently sitting on a plethora of shadow inventory. If you're on any one of our 3 auction house lists, you know how many properties come out every week, and we don't recycle those. In other words, every week another 3, 4, 5, 10,000 new properties come on the market again, and we don't go backwards and look at the old stuff. We figure, hey, if it's already at auction and you didn't like what you saw on that list, go on to the next list, just move on. I could spend an hour just talking about that. But the question becomes what happens to all that inventory? I can acquire the comprehensive list of all the bank properties that are available. I wouldn't recommend you try to buy from them for a whole lot of reasons, but I can't even guess how many properties are on those lists. I mean, you see some properties that run 3 to 50 times at auction. They've been on auction for a year and a half. Now, the banks could afford to do that because there was a greater likelihood in an economy that was strong and growing and in a housing market that was strong and growing. There was a likelihood there that somebody eventually was going to pay their price. So they just leave it run back to auction. But we know they're sitting on a plethora of shadow inventory. Government regulations has clearly prevented banks from foreclosing as easily as they once could. We don't know what those laws are going to look like in the coming year, but some of those could change. How many homes are currently in pre-foreclosure status? And could they be on their way to the market? What have we learned from our bank sources in the last 10 days? That's what we're going to talk about today. And this is what motivated me to get back on YouTube and do one of these for the benefit of all of our clients out there, buyers, sellers, and whatnot, because we learned some really interesting things. First of all, let's start right at the beginning. Again, for those that do not know us or are not familiar with what we do, we are on the VIP list for 3 of the largest auction houses in the country: Realty Bid, Auction.com, and Hudson Marshall. We recently added Echostream to our families of vendors. Echostream provides both bank-owned properties and REOs. To date, the banks very rarely take less than their set reserve or indicative bid price. Let me explain that. If you're already on our list, you know what that means. When you get a list from us, we can go back and we can give you the reserve price, the price that the bank sets for the property. We can give that to you. We can tell you what it is, so you don't have to go through the arduous process of going to auction, making bids, being rejected, being frustrated, and not liking the person who gave you the list very much. We can actually tell you what it is, take all that guesswork out for you. But what we can also tell you emphatically is that the bank doesn't move from that price. If the bank sets a reserve price of $100,000, it's $100,000. It's not $99,000, it's $100,000. It's not $50,000, it's $100,000. And they don't deviate from that. It's period, end of sentence. It's written in stone. Bank properties provide us with the most volume, but they are never deeply discounted. Is that going to change? Now, for clarity, you can get bank properties at discounts depending upon markets. If you're looking in California, Arizona, Nevada, the Bronx, Colorado, those markets, hands off. You're going to pay market value or darn close to it. You're not going to get properties at 20% off or 70% of value. You're not going to find out. If you're buying in Illinois and Michigan, Ohio, and the Rust Belt and some of those places, yes, you can still see some discounted properties there. And that's frankly where we do most of our bank business, is in the Rust Belt, Bible Belt states. But is this going to change? This is a big deal if this does change. We believe this to be the case. 3 of our 4 primary bank providers told us so in the past week. Since Monday, and I'm going to go through each one with you guys one at a time. First of all, let's start with Hudson and Marshall. First of all, you may have noticed if you're on our mailing list and you're seeing our weekly lists go out, you're seeing that Hudson Marshall about 3 weeks ago added a column that said, let me get this right. It said a bid price that seller will consider. So there was a column there. It didn't just say target bid like it used to. It said opening bid that the seller will consider. So they actually had a column that said, yeah, we'll accept less. In some cases, we'll accept less. If you get outbid, you can still outbid, obviously. Obviously, if the price is a target bid or an indicative bid of $100,000 and their minimum bid's 80, you can come in at 80 or 82 or 84. Now, if someone outbids you at 86 or 88, we can't help that, but you can get them for less is the point. And that started happening a few weeks ago. Realty Bid notified us on Monday to expect price changes, and they will now accept on some offers on certain inventory on a weekly basis. So on a weekly basis, we're going to be seeing properties reduced in price. And they did give us a number. I'm not going to share that, but if you contact us, we can share that with you. But we're going to see those numbers start to go down, and they are going to begin to take offers less than the indicative bid. in particular on lower end properties. It is situational, so I don't want anybody to think this is going to be on every bid, every week, every house. But you're seeing this sort of this law that you have to hit that indicative bid start to change a little bit and have a little bit of latitude in there to make offers that might be lower than what that price is, which means prices are coming down. We were told to expect a large list of HUD properties. Now, government properties, we just talked about that a second ago. Are these banks, institutions going to start releasing large lists of properties like they used to? If you recall, if you go back, 2009, 10, 11, the banks were selling these things in tapes of, $10 to $50 million, and you got great deals. That's what all the hedge funds were buying, right? They stopped doing that a number of years ago when they realized they were in an improving market and they didn't have to just give their properties away anymore. But what happens if something happens to the economy and they're stuck with tens of thousands of properties on their books? They've done that once. They don't like doing that because then those properties start getting really discounted down. Instead of selling them for 80% of value, you start selling them at 50 or 40% of value. Are we going to see that? It feels like we are. It feels like we're going to begin to see a wave of properties that are going to hit the market that are going to be under those traditional indicative bid prices. Now, what should we expect in the coming months? Now, we gave a lot of thought to this, and I talked to a lot of people before I wrote this slide. So this is what we think you're going to see. Expect inventory to increase. We think there'll be more that will be coming out faster. So the stuff that's been on these auction houses lists for months and months and months and months, I think they're going to get recycled back out faster. In other words, I don't think they're going to recycle them back out in a month. I think they're going to recycle them back in a week. So I think you're going to see more inventory. Expect to see some bank properties beginning to decrease in price. I think you can absolutely plan on seeing that. I think we are seeing it. I shouldn't say that. We are already seeing it, and we're going to see it probably more again increasing next week. When prices go down, competition will increase, and be prepared to act. One thing we've been telling people for over a year now, we said, we understand. Some of this bank stuff doesn't meet your buying criteria. It doesn't meet your financial model. It doesn't work for your financial model. We understand that. And what I would say is that what we feel is eventually the market's going to correct itself, and when it does, we want to be well positioned. I would encourage all of you to do the same. Be well positioned. If you think back to 2008 and 2009 when the housing market crashed, by the way, I'm not suggesting a housing crash here. When you remember when that occurred, the people that were well positioned were the guys who were already in the business, that already had infrastructure in place, who already had contacts to buy properties from, and they hit the ground running. Those are the ones that were the most successful. We're not suggesting we're going to see anything like that again, but we are starting to think is because of the amount of inventory in the market and the amount of changes that we may be seeing to our to some of the laws on our current books. Yeah, you may start to see these banks become more aggressive in getting these off their books. They don't experience what they did 10 years ago. So yes, be prepared to act. We expect that there will be no immediate fire sale, but rather a gradual shift towards more investor-friendly pricing. This is not going to happen overnight. Don't think next week's lists are all going to be fire saled out. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. We're going to think this is going to be a gradual sort of shift towards investors finding friendlier pricing. And the key to that is what I've been saying all along to folks for the last 12 months. Be patient. You're going to get, as an example, Realty bid list comes out Monday. Auction.com list we get on Tuesday. Hudson Marshall list we get anywhere from Wednesday to Friday. Echostream, not sure what day of the week it's going to come out, but that's 4 lists in every week. We'll be sending you, if you're on our list, 4 lists in your chosen market every week. You're going to find good deals on those lists. You got to look for them, but you're going to find them. And the key is just being consistent and being patient with it. So expect to see 3 to 5 deals come out of this office weekly, and then finally, man, expect the unexpected. I just think we just don't know what we're going to see. And so expect the unexpected. That's probably the best advice I can give anybody is in terms of what you can expect, and that's the unexpected. If you're not on our current buyers list, we can't help you. We can't send you lists if we don't know who you are and what markets you buy in. So you got to email Matt at preauctionbids@gmail.com. Not Matt at, by the way, just email preauctionbids@gmail.com. That is Matt's email address. That is solely dedicated for capturing a database of buyers in their markets and being able to turn those around automatically to you out of our office multiple times a week. As lists come to us, they'll go to you. We need to know a couple of things. We need to tell us what states you buy in. We cannot send out the entire list, so don't ask for it. We can only send you states that you buy in. And second, we need to know if you want to buy bank-owned or private stock as well. I'm going to talk about private stock here in a few slides. Okay, how does it work? Protocol is very thick when you buy a bank property. Some of the things that you need to know are this. The price guidance that we give you is the starting price. When we give you a price, that is the price. It's going to be fluctuating, we believe, but it is the price. We will always provide instructions on weekly mailers to whether or not we can accept under the price that we gave to you. When I send out a list, Every day when I send out a list, I spend an hour writing the protocol out. Very specifically what this tape represents, because that's when I get it, that's what I'm told. Charlie, on these here, you can offer under the indicative bid price. On these here, anything in yellow is aged, and we'll accept any bid, highest bid on those. Whatever the number is, the highest bid gets the property. It'll always be in the protocol. I know you may see the emails from our office, and you may see that and your eyes glaze over, but I really encourage you to read that protocol. In many cases, we can't get you inside. If we can get you a lockbox code, we'll tell you. If we can't, we can't. Properties are sold as is, where is, just like you're at a live auction. Do your due diligence first. You do not make a bid before doing your due diligence. That's one thing you do not want to do to a bank, is make an offer without doing your due diligence. These are all cash deals. There is no financing. How to buy bank-owned properties. Do not, I just said this, if you bid, have completed your due diligence. We need to have all your buyers' information when submitting your bid, including a recent POF. We are asking to speak to the direct buyer if it's their first time. If you are not the buyer, if you have a buyer and it's their first time buying, we need to talk to them. We need to have a signed agreement, and earnest money will be expected within 48 hours. If you win a bank property, it's very fast. Within 48 hours, you're under contract. You would send in your earnest money. If you're not prepared to do those things, don't submit a bid. Closing can be 20 to 45 days. That just depends on circumstances. Our fees are $2,000 for any property under $100,000 and 2% for any property over $100,000. That never changes. That's for any property on any bank list. If it's a private list, I'll go into that in a minute. But those are our fees. If you're a broker, add on top. When you make your offers, we have to have your buyer's detail. I mentioned that. We'll need your articles of incorporation if it's a corporation, so have that. If you win the bid, I just said this, you're going to have 24 hours to sign the agreement. EMD is $2,500 or 5%. This is always going to be conveyed by a special warranty deed unless you want to do a quick claim. Title and escrow companies of your choice. Closing can take place 20 to 45 days. I said that twice now. I don't know why that's in there twice. And all properties are sold as is, whereas, and I'm asked to say that at least twice in my presentation so you understand you're buying foreclosed properties sold as is, whereas. After you win the bid, you're going to get an email saying you won the property. Then it goes really, really fast. You're going to get the email containing the online documents. All that's done electronically. You're going to receive an invitation to attend their transaction room. We'll need all your corporate docs as stated, and your due diligence, again, comes first to this very moment. Now, privately owned REOs, we're shifting gears now. I'm done talking about bank-owned property now. We have had more luck in the last 8 months with some of this low-end private REO stock than anything else in quite some time. This is where our buyers found the best deals for the last year. We get multiple source tapes every week from multiple sources, with anywhere from 5 to 10,000 private REOs each month. So every month, at the beginning of the month, I usually get 2 or 3 lists. We combine them all together. We send them out to our buyers in their respective markets. These include REOs, non-performing, performing nodes, even some occupied properties that have been rehabbed and are cash flowing. It's a pretty big list. We've spent a lot of time with this list. We have sold bulk packages from these lists as low as $3,500 a door, and many can be purchased under $10,000. There's a whole group that you can purchase under $10,000. Protocol on these are similar but different than on bank property. Similar in the way you got to do your due diligence first. You don't want to offer before you do your due diligence, but here's how it goes. First, you must be on the list. If we don't have you on our list, you're not going to get a list. So we need to know where you're at, where you're looking for properties at. Again, preauctionbids@gmail.com. Request the markets that you want, and be specific in what you're requesting, by the way, whether you want private or REO stock, because it's two different things. If you've never bought from a bank before, we highly recommend that you get on the phone with us so you understand how it works. Even though you've watched this 20-minute webinar, that still doesn't mean you shouldn't spend a little bit of time with us to go over the protocol again so you understand it completely. Private stuff's a lot different, and here's why. Private stuff you can make mistakes on and still get away with it. You're not going to get shot. What I didn't mention was if you offer from a bank and you don't follow through because you didn't know the protocol, I didn't get a contingency period. If you don't know things like that and you back out, the bank will take you off their list. They'll actually blacklist you and say this particular buyer is an unreliable buyer. And the next time you go to bid, they won't accept your offer. So you just don't want to do that. Now, private lists, you can do that. I don't encourage it, obviously, but you can make an offer and then decide to back out and no one's going to shoot you. But all due diligence done up front. Unlike bank property, I can usually get you into these with lockbox codes. So if you request the lockbox codes from me, I can get you in. Most of these are going to have small liens. There won't be any loans against these, but there could be some liens. The buyer has to pay those liens, so it's important that you check for those. Offers are easy. Just email me the offer. We don't need an LOI or a POF. I'll always get a reply back within 48 hours. Sometimes you get a reply back in an hour. I'm not kidding. That's how fast it is. You then get 5 days to finish your due diligence. So they actually give you 5 days once we agree on price. So you go look at the house, submit your offer. We agree. We send you a contract. You get 5 days. If you get 5 days to back out, so you do get 5 days for due diligence, unlike a bank, by the way. Closing is done by quitclaim deed. It's a simple trade. It's cash for deed. We send the deed to your escrow company. You wire the money. If you're flipping this, we're going to ask you for a small deposit. We're tired of people putting these things under contract and then shopping them around trying to find a buyer. We just won't do that. We're not going to take properties off the market for 5 to 10 days for you to go shop them around. So if you're going to shop them around, that's fine, but you're going to lose a deposit if you do that and you don't succeed in selling them. That is our YouTube channel. I went a little over 20 minutes today, but I'm going to leave my information up here for a second. This is my phone number, my email address. Excuse me, it's not my email address, it's my phone number. It's Matt's email address, which is much more important because Matt controls the database of properties. So email Matt or call me. We'd love to talk to you. We're going to be doing these probably for the next, we're probably going to do one of these every 2 weeks from now to the end of the year, just because there's so many things changing so rapidly that, again, if you're on our buyers list now, this will help you understand what's going on without having to try to track me down on the phone. And if you're not on our buyers list, we encourage you to get on there. We suspect you're going to be seeing some pretty good deals in the not too distant future. So we think that it's a good time to be sitting in the front row if some of this inventory starts coming onto the market, give you a chance to buy some nice inventory at some good prices. So with that, I want to thank you all for spending 20 minutes with me, and we'll look forward to talking to you all next time.